Hey everybody, welcome to Random Internet Stuff and Things. Tonight we got a pro revenge story, so stick tuned. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, hit that subscriber bell, and hit the thumbs up button, and we'll see you in the next video. Terminated me while on medical leave? Put them on permanent leave. So first, your typical backstory. I was an employee at a well-known breakfast chain, particularly popular for their wide selection of pancakes. For nearly 3 years, I was decently well-liked among the employees and had a very good friend who had just been promoted to a shift manager by the former general manager, who was a really great guy that unfortunately got transferred to a different store against his wishes. He was replaced by a horrible, power-hungry shift manager that no one cared for. So a typical work week for me was 6 days a week, between 60 to 70 hours a week, with Tuesdays being my only day off. My shifts ranged from 8 hours to as much as an 18-hour double shift. This is important later. I worked the schedule without complaint for years of my life. Unfortunately, on September 10th, I fell very ill while at work with no known cause. This was accompanied by severe, stabbing pain in my lower right abdomen. I called the general manager, it was about 12 a.m. at this point, and informed her I planned on leaving to go to the emergency room, to which she told me if I left, then I would be fired. Now at this time, I really needed this job, so not wanting to be fired, I decided to work through my shift. I had 2 hours remaining, but it was hell to work through. Finally, 2 a.m. rolled around, and I immediately left to drive to the hospital. Upon arrival, I was admitted almost immediately into the hospital due to scan results showing an inflamed appendix. I called the general manager and let her know that I was being admitted to the hospital and would keep her updated. Her response, if you're going to try to get out of work, can you at least find someone to cover your shift in the morning? Some people. Note at this point, it was around 3:30 a.m. My next shift that she wanted me to cover was at 8 a.m. the next morning, a few hours later. I was notified that I needed an appendectomy, and it would be scheduled for the following morning. I agreed, signed the release, and called up my manager to notify her. I told her that I would be out of work for at least a few days, but after surgery, I let her know it is important to know that I kept her informed throughout my entire absence. I even sent her a picture of myself laying in a hospital bed with multiple accusations of faking. I still have the text if anyone is interested. So surgery went smoothly. However, they found that I had a gangrene infection in my appendix that appeared to have spread. Due to complications involving this, my hospital stay ended up being 2 full weeks. I was discharged at noon and drove to work almost immediately after discharge to inform them I was out of the hospital and cleared to come back, as well as turn in the hospital note proving I was there. To my surprise, the regional manager is there. I walk in and find both the regional and the general manager at the front counter having a conversation. I slide the note towards them on the desk and informed them that I was cleared to come back to work. The general manager looked at me in utter disbelief. "Excuse me? You've already been terminated for no-call, no-showing for 2 weeks. I reminded her that I did, in fact, keep her informed and had proof. She cut me off, and with an annoyed tone said that she'd give me another chance. I came back in that night for my shift, luckily working with my friend, the shift manager. I was also training a guy I had never seen before, not uncommon as I was a floor supervisor/trainer. My friend later called me into the office, and that's when I learned that I was only rehired so that I couldn't file a wrongful termination suit, and said that the person I was currently training was my replacement. The general manager had plans to fire me the next morning. As shocked as I was, we immediately hatched a plan. So this restaurant was dirty. Huge roaches infesting the kitchen and dining room, black mold, rotten food mixed with fresh food, water leaks so bad the carpet in the dining room is literally decaying, you name it. We have reported these issues to the general manager multiple times, but nothing ever happened. My friend sent the trainee home with the excuse that her labor was too high, and I spent the remainder of my shift taking pictures of every continuous health code violation I have seen. I went as far as cooking orders, just so I could get pictures of the grills and kitchen areas without suspicion from other employees. Finally, the next morning rolled around. I woke up to a call from the general manager. Sure enough, she demanded that I turn my uniform in because I was being terminated immediately. I drove up there and asked for the reason behind my termination, and she replied that I was a lazy worker who always complained that they had hours. Please remember, I averaged about 64 hours a week and never complained. Not in the mood to argue, I simply turned in my uniform and left, but that's not the end of my plan. I was one of the only food safety permitted employees. I had just renewed my permit, so all of the information in class was fresh on my mind. I also distinctly remember the health inspector teaching the class stated that if we wanted to report our workplace, just come in, ask for him, and bring evidence. I went straight to the health department, asked to speak with him, and supplied 7 written paragraphs of every violation, as well as all the pictures I had taken to back up my claim. He informed me that with the picture evidence, it would be hard for the restaurant to fight. He also informed me that he would follow up with a surprise inspection the next morning. The next morning, I woke up and found messages from my general manager calling me a snitch and a grainer whiner. Luckily, my friend recorded the entire inspection from the office. Due to how recent this story is, I will not be releasing it due to showing faces as well as names being mentioned. But it was beautiful, and it showed that the true whiner was in fact in this situation. The general manager was slapped with a hefty $7,000 fine for allowing unpermitted employees to work, and the restaurant was ordered to shut down operations permanently. Now, as much as I want to feel bad for the people left without work, I don't. And for the decent employees, the story actually has somewhat of a happy ending. My friend has always talked about wanting to open her own 50s dinner-style restaurant, where everything is cooked homemade and with care. What better location to do it than in a familiar location where you already know what's wrong with the building and what needs fixed? She applied for a loan, and on October 13th of this year, she purchased the building. Renovations have already begun, and a new diner named after the highway is built directly beside. It is expected to occupy the space by January of 2020. As far as employees go, I have been given the role of shift manager, and the employees who were clean, permitted, and hard workers from the former restaurant are being offered the same positions at the new restaurant. Cooks will be cooks, servers will be servers, etc. Too long, didn't read. My manager terminated me while on medical leave, so we put the store on permanent leave.